back to another season of the Journey of the Unordinary. My name's Jackie.
And my name is Chuxing. In this season, we're going to release 10 episodes of 10 guests every few weeks, and our guests are coming from various backgrounds that we found inspiring.
So continue to join us on this journey to uncover the unique paths of these beautiful, unordinary people. Find a piece of yourself in their stories and let their adventures inspire your own. Hello, we are live. So, welcome everybody. Welcome back to season 2 of our podcast journey of the unordinary. This season, like the last season, we are super excited to talk to the unordinary friends in our life to learn about their unordinary growing up experience, the path they took to where they are. Over to you.
I'm very excited to introduce Isaac. I personally met Isaac when he was back in Sydney. So currently he's not in Sydney anymore. But yeah, like we met each other through like some crypto Discord channel back in like 2021 or something? But yeah, like back in the previous cycle, and ever since then we kind of started our journeys into crypto. So right now Isaac is not in Sydney anymore, but I'm gonna hand over the mic to him, and he's gonna talk to you guys more about his journey.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Isaac. Yeah, just it's been a while since Chushin and I met. I think it was back in the previous cycle. It was exactly this previous cycle. I totally forgot what the name was, but it was very much about a group of crypto enthusiasts in Sydney, some of us in Melbourne. But the idea was to get the degens back then to come together to like share alpha within the space, and everyone had like different interests. I think myself, I was one of the core, I guess, like founding members of the community, and then that turned into Dow Under, which is one of the reasons I still like attribute Dow Under to one of the few reasons that I'm here today within my crypto career. Yeah, I currently work at Zora as a product manager. If you don't know what Zora is probably the most rewarding, most enjoyable, the best place for you to mint your media on chain. If you go to Zora.co, you'd see amazing art, media, content that's coming from artists, creators, illustrators, writers from everywhere around the world, putting their work on chain, sharing it, making it mintable, making it collectible. Yeah, that's very much what I currently do. That takes up 99% of my time at the moment, but I spend a lot of time also trying to contribute to different on-chain communities like Mounts Builder, Builder DAO. Most recently, I started contributing a little bit more to a community called Hire. It started out very much like a meme coin, and then we have like really interesting individuals in this space, running the show, not necessarily running the show, but really leading and spearheading the initiative, like folks like Light, Six, and Martin. So I'm just contributing to it as much as I can, as I find it really, yeah, interesting. So a little bit about me.
It's funny. I'm literally right before we hop down, I'm looking at like the higher liquidity providers. So
There you go.
yeah. So curious, why product manager and why Zora for you?
Oh, all right. So I think we probably have to take a step back.
All right, let's do
Bef-
that.
but before crypto, so I studied chemical engineering in uni back in Perth, and then I moved to Sydney. Did a bit of engineering for like 8 months, and then I joined Salesforce to do business development. I was there for like 2.5 years, and that was when the pandemic hit. And at the time, I was very frustrated with the work that I was doing. I didn't feel fulfilled. Salesforce is a great company for a lot of folks, but I felt like personally it wasn't very. I couldn't see myself doing it for in the long run, and I wanted to build something on my own. Just reading stuff on like Y Combinator, Indie Hacker. You listen to amazing podcasts like How I Built This or Founders by David Zenra, and I was very motivated to carve my path on my own, trying to build something So I left Salesforce in like 2020. So like um it was pretty crazy considering how like everyone was like, you most likely shouldn't leave your job because pandemic, you don't really know what's going to happen. So I left my job anyways, built it with my friend, who at the time worked at HubSpot. And we started building an app called Tiny Ask. And the idea of it was essentially to build a social audio app for career advice. Was very much trying to scratch my own itch around figuring out what I wanted to do in my career, but I didn't know who to reach out to. So I thought that, so at the time we thought that let's build something that makes it really easy for us to tap into other people's minds without taking up too much of their time. So I spent about a year-ish working on that. Um, but as I was like building it, I was learning, picking up like product skills, UX skills, customer research skills, design skills. Um, I found myself being very interested in product in more of a less conventional way. I'm not really, I would say, like, even until today, I'm not necessarily like, oh, this is what framework you should actually use. It's kind of like, oh, this is what the problem actually is. I kind of want to, and I feel like we should build this one feature to test that hypothesis out. So a little more scientific in that sense. And then as I was building it, I came across DAOs. It's called Questbook. The very first DAO that I came across was called Questbook. They wanted to build a decentralized learning platform or decentralized university. Why I was so intrigued by it was the idea that they wanted to align incentives between the learners and the teachers using a token. And I was like, okay, that's quite interesting because in the Web2 world, it's really transactional if you just pay people with fiat currency, and there's no like aligned incentives for both. Like if you pay me and then you just go on your own ways. But if you've got like aligned incentives, you kind of want to you're somehow more encouraged to build that community, build that platform, build that experience in a way that works for everyone who's involved. So I was very intrigued by that. I started contributing to DAOs. The very first one was called Index Co-op. Um, yeah, we had a friend who was also contributing to Index Co-op at the time, who was part of DAO, and it was interesting. Because of that, I just started going down a rabbit hole of crypto. At the time, I already knew that we all know like crypto is it's very big. Sorry, it's very big. It's very small at the same time. It's big in the sense where there are so many projects, but then it's small in the sense where once you find that niche and corner of crypto, you just tend to like just hang around in that. Maybe like you'd go out in the peripheral of it, but usually not that far away. So for me at the time, I was intrigued by DAOs, nouns in 2021, and then Zora back then. I was very much like, oh, okay, like how do I tap into like the liberal artsy side of crypto? Like how do I appreciate technology while also dive deeper into like things that make humankind so important, like societal, like anthropology, art, music, creatives, writing, philosophy. Like you don't realize how much those things are like integral to the society, and then crypto was really just trying to programmatically put it out there for everyone. So Zora, nouns, and then I started writing a lot about it, and then Down Under helped co-found it, started doing a bunch of like community events, and back in Sydney. Yeah, and then eventually how I landed in Zora was me just writing ideas publicly, and then I think somehow I got connected to the head of product at the time. The opportunity came up for me to join Zora, and I was like, oh yeah, 100%. This is exactly what I want to. If I were to join a crypto company, it would be Zora. Like there was nothing else back then. Even 2 years later, if you ask me the same question, I'm probably going to say, yeah, it's still very much Zora. Like it's set such a high benchmark for me. It's pretty hard to. Um, yeah, I haven't changed my mind about my view about that so far.
Yeah, I think Zora itself is interesting with the combination of like technology and also art itself. But also, like as I mentioned previously, so you're not in Sydney anymore and you're currently in New York. Maybe talk about your kind of like the transition or yeah, like how do you decide, oh, I'm gonna move to New York? And I also wonder if that was not because of crypto, would you still move out of the country?
I say this to like privately to like a few of my friends and family. I'm like, I would say crypto changed my life literally for the better. If it were not for crypto, I don't think I'd be living in New York. I think growing up, moving to the States was never like it was never like part of the priority for me. Like it was never a thing. I was not like, oh, I need to move to the States, let alone New York. Uh, Now that I'm in New York, since I moved to New York in November, I would say that a huge part of the reason why I moved to New York is because of crypto. And there's this really good essay by Paul Graham from Y Combinator. It's called Cities and Ambition. I try to I try to like evangelize that piece to as many people as I possibly can around. If you want to pursue a particular industry or like you kind of want to work in a specialized industry, you need to be working in a place and living in a city where the concentration of talent and resources is most dense. If you compare that to folks like uh, academics, so you would go to Boston because everyone, like the smartest folks in Boston, doing amazing research. If you want to do arts back in the 1960s, you would go to Paris, or fashion, Paris, Italy, Rome, Milan, just because everyone was doing stuff there. And it's very much the same for crypto. I would say New York is the crypto hub as much as there's San Francisco with Coinbase, and then you have really interesting stuff that's popping up in Hong Kong and Singapore. But something about New York just makes it very interesting because it's a perfect blend of money and and art. It's financial hub, but then there's so many like there's just so much creativity, so much creative energy in general in the city. So blending them together and bringing like talking about like the on-chain future, I feel like New York City is the place for me if I want to build a career here. So yeah, New York.
Nice, nice. There's something about the city New York for like more than 100, 200 years. It's just like it changes, but it doesn't change. Like the vibe is still like, you should come here as like a young person wanting to do
Hmm.
something.
Yeah,
uh,
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
yeah. I'm curious because you mentioned about scratching your liberal artsy like
Hmm.
desire, I guess. Um, I've been thinking about this also like recently, about how to introduce words like poetry that's not necessarily just pictures and NFTs, to on-chain culture. So I think
Mm.
that part of the art is very much like under touched right now in the crypto culture. So I'm like curious how you're thinking about it. It doesn't have to be within like the Zora lands, but just like,
Yeah.
how are you thinking about like that part of on-chain art?
Yeah. So not visual art, right? You're talking about more like written forms of art. I'm probably going to be talking from a Zora's point of view. I think just minting as a how I see it, like minting is very much something that I think Zora has proliferated very successfully over the past 2 years. And minting your media, minting your work and creativity on chain is, I feel like, one of our biggest strengths and like superpowers. And I would say that in general, the entire space has accepted this truth. Like we need to be minting all these amazing work on chain, not because not just because you have to mint it on chain, but because you want to capture the provenance of it, the artistic value of it. But then it's also financial. It's also inherently, intrinsically financial just because it's crypto. There is a very clear exchange of value as soon as you put stuff on chain, right? And back to your point around bringing non-visual art on chain, I would say I agree. I think we need to bring more poetry. I think we need to bring more essays. I think we need to bring more writings. Um, we need to bring more fiction, non-fiction. Bring it on chain. I think it's also about distributing, right? If you just try to compare pre-Instagram and post-Instagram, prior to Instagram, you won't necessarily be posting videos on the internet to show everyone. I feel like on chain, like this on chain era that we currently live in, people would be a little more, people would be way more encouraged to put their work on chain to capture that artistic value of it. And it is only enabled by crypto, I would say. I don't necessarily know how to explain why crypto is uniquely positioned to capture that artistic value. Maybe it's because it's code. You're talking about code programmatically saying this is a piece of art. Obviously, how you judge art is subjective depending on your cultural reference points. But instead of just it being in a book, it's on chain. Everyone could see it. It's public. It's on the blockchain. It's a public ledger. You could query it, and then you could go, "Yep, I can actually see this piece of metadata that's being rendered according to that token." So, um, yeah, we need to see it more on chain. But the thing is also like there's this other side of like educational piece where telling people, hey, when you write stuff, this amazing poetry that you have, you may be distributing that through your book. How about you put it on chain as well? Like, if see it as a form of sharing your work on the purest form of internet, and the purest form of internet being decentralized protocols, like everyone can see it. So, I'm not sure if I'm making sense there, but I guess that's how I'm currently thinking about it. Yeah.
I have a follow-up question. So, like currently, what kind of cultural trends I would say you are seeing on chain that is developing, where you can say
Mm,
like, oh, cultural is kind of combining with crypto, and also what do you think
yeah.
is lacking right now?
Mm, I think so. We've seen a lot of folks, artists, creators coming on chain from the Web2 world, people who've traditionally sold their artwork on Instagram to coming onto Zora, minting their work on chain, and actually being able to make a living out of it. We have a lot of artists who are in like Latin America who have shared their testimonies around because they've minted on Zora, people are collecting their work on Zora, they're able to pay bills. So that's a really interesting trend that minting has enabled. What else I'm also seeing is actually brands coming on chain. Um, that's I kind of casted about this as well. So in the traditional world, you have paid media and owned media and earned media, like all these different kinds of advertising streams. But then in the crypto world, there's minted media. So minted media is just being you put it on chain, it's collectible. I'm just gonna repeat myself like a broken tape, but then you capture the artistic value of it. People get to collect it at the same time. You're building a brand new engagement channel with your fans and with your customers because they're not just liking it. They're just not like, hey, that's an amazing ad. I wanna like it, but you're essentially super liking it, and then you're minting it, collecting it, and now you're a part of that history that this brand has put on chain. So I personally would love to see um, actually on that. So fashion coming on chain is actually really interesting as well. So Kit Super, at one Kit Super, he's an amazing up and coming fashion designer. He did a really interesting collab with LVMH. He did a really cool collab with Canada Goose as well. So for his recent Paris Fashion Week, I think it was SS 2024. But what he did was he essentially minted his show notes on Zora. So talking about how he wanted to run the fashion show in Paris. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, this is going to be the norm. It's crypto has somehow been able to attract the most creative minds um, ever, and we're going to continue to see more of it. Art has traditionally, as much as we want it to be like going up that way, but it's always like that. Like it's always like the top 1% of folks being absolutely obsessed about it, and they can't stop talking about it, and that energy just infects everyone, and then eventually it just goes like everyone's going to be like, wait, that person who I look up to is minting their work on chain. I want to mint my work on chain. So I want to see folks like John Anderson from Loewe come mint his stuff on chain. Like I want to see amazing stuff like that behind the scenes, creative process, mint that on chain. It's not just like fashion is art, like it's wearable art, and that's how I see it. So uh, brands creative process by like these amazing creative directors. Um, yeah, so I would say these two. Very bullish about that. Yeah.
Like we're kind of drifting away from the journey, but I can't help but to ask more on this. How do you get the creative directors to know about on-chain? Like if they didn't know already, and like convince them to do this, because I think the industry still has a very shady reputation, like to the normal world, and they would just like,
Crypto does.
yeah,
Crypto's got
yeah,
shady reputation. Okay.
yeah, exactly. So it's just like I don't feel like people who don't know about it are motivated enough to like explore it even. So I'm just like curious, like how do you approach like getting these, I love your vision, getting these creative directors onto it, and then also like make it sustainable, so there's like utility, and this is like a personal thing where like I think real life like cups are really cute, right? And then I can hold them, I can like use them when I drink, whatnot. But like if it's just like a piece of NFT on chain, it's different. Like it's not real. Um, so I don't know if there needs to be like, do you think there needs to be like a necessary connection of the on-chain art to like the real life art? Yeah, so I guess like first part, like getting the people like creative directors to get on chain with their art, and then also how to like, is there like a connection with in real life like touches?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So, a few things, right? Like minting as a form of capturing artistic value requires a bit of education for sure. You need to work very closely with a select few artists and creative directors because it's not just about, it's also like helping them see a brand new world that they, I would say, like, if anything, creative directors are the most inclined to be trying minting because it's so, it's on the other end of the spectrum of everything. Because like fashion designers, at the end of the day, they're some of the most eclectic individuals out there, and they've got a very strong view about how the world should be. Like it's very much like F the system. Like we don't want to, we want to go against the tide, and crypto is very much that. We should lean into that as much as we can. Work with them. You need to be very careful. Obviously, like not everyone's gonna be open to it, but um, I would say like one of the best ways for you to like onboard more of these creative directors is actually like work with a solid few, and then it's doing things that don't scale. Like even if it means hand holding every single one of them one by one to bring them on chain. I think those are the type of work that the crypto space has to do in order to onboard the masses. It's not about, hey, I'm going to build the product and then come and use it. No, like it requires so much early education with the strongest and most influential minds in the space. Bring them on chain, help them come on chain, show them the actual value and utility of being on chain, and then hopefully that just creates a trickle ripple effect. And then to your question around like utility, that's really true. Like you're buying you buying a piece of like physical item. Like it's very tangible, it's very tactile. You can actually feel it. But NFTs is literally just on your phone. Like, why would you? Uh, like, how does it matter? Like, I would say like we need a better word for it, but like digiphysicals or like digital, whatever you want to call it. I think there is a very strong, untapped, underexplored opportunity within that problem space. Like, how do you actually use minting? How do you actually connect minting on chain and then bringing that into in real life experiences? I would say one of the very interesting projects at the moment would be IYK.app. They do essentially an NFC chip where you would tap and be able to collect media or like whatever you want the users to do. So they've worked with interesting folks like 9DCC where you would tap their t-shirts, right? And then the other one that's also really interesting, it's like Azuki with the physical back token. They have that with the skateboard and all that. So you're seeing like glimpses of that. Are we doing enough of it? We're probably not, but it's there. It's kind of like we've also seen like LVMH putting up like a NFT chunk. Chunks are like super expensive products, like an entire line of like hard shell suitcases that they have. So it just feels like it would be these brands who already have some sort of loyal customer base that would help bridge the gap between on-chain and offline experiences because they know how to build brands, they know how to build products already in real life. Um, it's just a matter of like building the right bridge with the digital experience, which is on-chain, with the right projects, partners. Um, it's kind of like crypto should figure out the on-chain side, and then we work with all these folks who are already amazing with the physical side of things, bridge them together. Then people would be like, okay, I see the utility. It should be that. It should be like collaborative effort between these two types of companies, I would say.
I have another follow-up question about fashion, but it's more about yourself, Isaac. So I would say you're probably like one of the few people like that I meet in real life that has some fashion taste. And then, so I'm just like curious, like what is your just curious, like what do you think your fashion style is? Who inspires you? And also like how did you even
Oh
get
shit.
into that? Like since when did you start caring about your styling? It could be a hairstyle.
Uh,
And just like, yeah, tell us. Spill the tea.
uh, um, I'd say like growing up, I don't exactly know. I think I've always been like a casual enjoyer and appreciator of like fashion, and but whether I was fashionable growing up, I don't think that was the case. I would say working in crypto and tapping into that liberal artsy part of myself really, I guess, like accelerate. Like, if anything, like I went from a level one Pokemon to like a hopefully a level five Pokemon through crypto because I'm somehow more empowered to like explore these creative sides of my inner self. Um, I would say like some of my partner also works in fashion. And I'm also quite influenced by the way she thinks, and she also tells me what's what I should keep an eye out for, like what she thinks is trendy, and then I'd be like, okay, I think that suits my vibe. That doesn't suit my vibe. In general, I think I lean towards a little bit more gorpcore. I don't know what. So gorpcore is like, uh, let me look it up. So gorpcore stands for uh, wait, it's trail mix. So essentially, what people would wear would be like things like Arc'teryx, Solomons, very like technical wear stuff. I don't know why I have no idea why I'm drawn to it, but somehow I am. I like it just because it's an I, I think it's still very much like me being an engineer. I'm like I really appreciate the idea of like industrial design and the technology behind why they choose a certain type of fabric to do something. And I'm like, okay, I really like that. And then obviously like following the right fashion thinkers on Twitter, on like Instagram, and then slowly forming my point of view around what fashion should look like. Yeah, for me, favorite brand at the moment would be Arc'teryx. I love Salomon's. The next pair of Salomons I want to get would be the Salomon Sandy Lamb XT4, the pink ones. I still can't bring myself to pull the trigger, but soon. Like those are probably my top next to buy if I were to buy in the next year. Yeah.
Nice, nice. This is not sponsored, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
if in the
Sandy
future
Lamb,
they're gonna
if you're
sponsor us,
listening to this, send it to me, huh?
yeah,
All right.
yeah, sponsor
Yeah.
sponsor Isaac, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, time passes by super soon. I guess one more question we'll go into. One or two more questions we'll go into the closing side. So piggybacking upon what you were just saying, you obviously I feel like you just so energized when you start talking about like fashion, style,
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. So
Yeah.
in what what makes you happy? Like what motivates you to do things in life in general?
Mm. Um, what makes me happy? I think what makes me happy is when I see myself grow. Uh, when I see myself being able to do something that I was not able to do somehow like a few months ago. Say like, let's just take working in product, for example. Like, a few months, like when I first started working in Zora, I was pretty clueless around how you'd be working with senior engineers and figuring out how do you actually build just a feature. You know, like 2 years, fast forward 2 years, I had the opportunity and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have worked with like amazing crypto engineers, so back-end engineers, protocol engineers, front-end engineers. I've been able to learn so much from them and like lean into their expertise. And I would say like seeing myself being able to kind of manage that chaos around figuring out how to build something from not knowing how to do it, now having some sort of idea on how to do it. That makes me happy, like seeing some sort of growth. Um, I think the other kind of stuff that actually make me happy would be, I would say like finding, like diving into rabbit holes, like really being curious about something and then having this weird obsession and geekiness about, hey, that sounds like a really interesting piece of information. How do I dive a little bit deeper into that? I've got like all these weird things that I'm into, even though I'm like not fully an expert in it. Like I kind of like aviation, but I don't necessarily know about it. But if you tell me what that plane is, if you ask me what that plane is, I can probably tell you what the model is. It's so weird that I can't somehow know it. Um, Weird stuff like that, and then like being interested in fashion as well, or like being interested in culture, brand building. So when I come across like an interesting brands, like so for the past few months, I've just been training for a half marathon. So I'm coming across all these interesting brands like Satisfy Running or like Bandit Running. The idea of like being able to build a brand around a sport in an independent way, but somehow make it so mysterious and cool, kind of Zora in a way. I'm like, wow, okay, that's actually pretty freaking cool. Like, how do I? For me, the immediate thought is, how do I be a part of that? How do I build something like that? So that kind of stuff really makes me happy. I'm like, wow, okay, someone out there, they're really bringing those visions, the visions that they have to life and letting me enjoy it. I'm like, shit, that's actually really cool. So, yeah, I try to, yeah, so weird obsessions here and there. I don't know how to explain it, but it's kind of probably makes me me. Yeah.
Yeah. But also at the same time, like, given so many things are happening, not just in our industry, but also like in the outside world, like how do you keep up with everything? How do you like strike a balance? And yeah, like I like the idea of keep growing, but also at the same time, like having the idea of like growing, I wouldn't say every day, but like all the time is also a little bit stressful. So how do you kind of
Yeah.
like handle all of that?
Yeah, I would say like maybe it's a bit cliche to say this, but let your curiosity guide you. Like, the one privilege that I feel like I have is the work that I do at Zora, because I'm actually really interested. Am I passionate about crypto? I don't know if I'm passionate, but I'm actually really interested about it. And I feel very energized when I start learning about things within crypto. And like everything within crypto is what I'm interested in. So that somehow happened to be the case. So I just kind of let that. I'm like, oh, okay. Some like that piece of working in this creative part of crypto has allowed me to learn a little bit more about what art what about art history, and then I'll just go down that one branch of rabbit hole, and then I go, and then the other things like working in crypto has made me a little more interested about how money has shaped our human society, and then I just go down into that rabbit hole again. I don't tend to go like, I'm not one of those guys who'd be like, I wake up first thing in the morning and read the news. I'm probably first thing I would check out is actually Reddit. Like Reddit gives me like the most interesting information. So um, yeah. So obviously being on Twitter, I'm permanently online. Some people say it's pretty toxic, but I don't think it's toxic. I think it's fun. It's part of what I do. I read as part of my job. I would say I read as much as I can. I try to read more books, but I find myself just reading more articles and essays by people in general. So I would say that don't necessarily feel like you need to know everything. The world's really big. There's always somehow some other person who knows more than you. Just like build a relationship with them, talk to them about these things, ask genuine questions. Don't say no to picking up new knowledge. If someone does something really interesting, try to ask questions and build a conversation from there. And then from there you build your own rabbit hole again. So rabbit hole.
I think we need a separate conversation on how to be permanently online, and not be involved in, I guess, toxic mind space. I would love to learn more tips on that.
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, so just to close up today's conversation, where can people learn more about you, and what do you want to learn from our listeners?
Uh, Look me up on I'm on Farcaster, and my handle on Farcaster is ZAAK Zach, and then on Twitter as well, Isaac CYN. I'm a little bit more active in Farcaster now than I used to be. Yeah, those two places you find me, you can DM me. I would definitely I would definitely respond to you. What was your other question again? Sorry.
What do you want to learn from our audience? Do you,
What?
yeah.
Wait. What do I want to learn from your audience? How they think about crypto and how we should be talking about crypto more broadly. Not because I work in crypto, but rather I've been in crypto for about 2+ years now, and I still have no idea how to explain it to my friends and family. So if they can help me build a great elevator pitch, I think that'd be amazing. Yeah, I talk about it in such a geeky way. It kind of goes like, wait, it's kind of like people would be like, I'm happy that you found what you're really interested in, but I have no idea what you're doing. So I want it to be like, I'm happy that you found what you're interested in, and I want to learn a little bit more about it, but maybe you could talk around like that so that more people can learn about it. So that's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Isaac, for coming. And it's really good to have you. I think every time when we have conversation with you, I think last time was about inspiration and this time just rabbit hole. It's always nice to have some key takeaways out of it. But yeah, really appreciate your time here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, inspiration. Yeah, I'm inspired. New York is inspiring everyone. You
I
want to build a great
forgot
career, come to New York.
what was the theme of our dinner last.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
All right, so I guess
it is inspiring. Yeah,
keep being inspired
yeah,
is the takeaway of the
yeah,
episode.
yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Yep.
so much for coming on. We'll see you around.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining. If you haven't already, please subscribe. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening right now. Also, if you know someone who might like it, please share it. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the episode and give us a review.
All right, see you on the internet and see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.